So, with the comments that I made before, I wanted to make something really clear, especially with part one, is that when I was in the room with Michael in Utah, the one thing that I did is I made whatever it was in the room know that I knew it was there. I mean, I think that's half the battle when we're dealing with something that we're not quite sure what it is, whether it comes through a portal. And I don't really care how it gets in the room. If it's in there with me and we're paying money for that room, I don't want it there. So I call it a spirit squatter or an entity squatter because that's what they are. They don't have a right to be there. And I know that the paranormal has its own, like, we have our rules here in this reality. What's okay and what's not okay. I know the paranormal is a different animal. It's got its own thing going on there. But just because of that, it doesn't mean that anything in the paranormal can come in and affect the room or the space that I'm in. So trusting your third eye or trusting yourself enough to kind of set those boundaries, I think is really important. So number one, I let it know that I was there. And that's what we want to do. We want them to know that we know they're there. I think that's important. And then I think it's important to help these things understand. Maybe they don't care. I don't know what their point is in coming in. I mean, some of them are predatorial, and I get that, but maybe others are just curious. But whatever this thing was in the room, I didn't like it. And I felt, as I told you, I knew it was reptilian. So I just wanted it to know I knew it was there. And then stating the fact I changed things. I got up, but I didn't get up out of fear. I got up out of, I don't have time for this. I was dealing with the sadness of my parents being gone, and I just didn't want that added to my plate. So I got up, I was pissed off, and I just said, I'm not doing this with you tonight. It's not happening, or in the morning, whatever. So I went in, I changed things, and I was in the bathroom. Now, this is something that's really interesting. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who, and I've talked about mirrors, but I think that there's a lot of people who think that mirrors kind of are that added element for spirits. Because in a lot of scary movies, what I've seen is that they'll have the spirit on the other side, kind of hand writing in the mist. When it's all foggy in the bathroom when they're taking a shower, and they'll have something invisible writing on the mirror. Well, what I found is that the light shining in the mirror in the bathroom helped me out, because I got the sense that if I stood in front of the mirror, that I would be safe. And I can't tell you why. I know it sounds nuts and crazy, but it's the truth. I knew that if I was in the bathroom in front of that mirror, that was something that this thing didn't like. And I don't know if it's because of whatever it was, if it was reptilian, which I think it was, if its cloaking device or whatever it had wouldn't work as well with the image looking in the mirror. Because Michael and I've had a friend of ours who actually commented to us a story where he saw a reptilian, and he saw it in the mirror, what it really looked like. But in front of him was this old little lady, but he could see this gigantic reptilian that was looking back at him in the mirror. And the old woman was really pissed off and mad because that he was seeing what it was really looking like. So I wonder if, because this was reptilian, if it didn't come into the bathroom with me because of the mirror, because I would have seen what it really looked like, because it was hiding itself from me. I think that had a lot to do with it. But I think the one thing that is important is if you change things up on these things, yeah, I got up out of bed. Maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe it wasn't. But I let it know that I was pissed off and mad. I knew it was there, and that I wasn't going to put up with it. I didn't like it. And I was going to just get dressed, get ready to go, and get Michael up. And then we were going to leave the room because I just didn't want to have to handle it and deal with it at that point. But what if that mirror in the bathroom was the one thing that actually helped me out? So maybe instinctive, maybe that's what it was. I instinctively knew that would help me. But all I knew is that whenever I was in the bathroom, it was kind of a sanctuary, kind of that the line drawn in the sand where I felt safer. I was concerned about Michael, but he's tough cookie. He can handle stuff like that. But at the end of all of that, we both realized that we had dealt with something that just was really kind of nuts and crazy. So when you're dealing with stuff like that, really, is it a time frame? How do they know when to come in? Do they just wait till you're at a certain point in bed sleeping? Maybe our vulnerability is when we do sleep, obviously. Vulnerability also is in the dark. We don't see as well in the dark as animals and other entities who, they live in the dark. So I think there's a couple things there that make us vulnerable, why things happen more at night, just because of who we are as humans. So I think that's really important to understand, is the vulnerability of who we are. But you don't want that to be your Achilles heel. I don't want it to be mine. There's been times when I've heard something outside and I'll grab something and I'll walk outside and I'll go see what it is. And I'll try to adjust for, it being dark outside. So I'll go look to see what something is. But for me, I don't do it because I'm stupid. I do it because wherever I live, I don't care what age I've been, if that's my sanctuary, that includes the front yard, the backyard, whatever, and I don't allow anything that doesn't have my best interest at heart to be around the yard, the front, the back, whatever, crawling around, walking around, prowling around. I don't care what it is. If I don't want it there, I let it know I don't want it there, because I am, queen of my domain. Michael's my king. So where we are in our home, I don't want anything messing with the loved ones that I have here. And that includes my baby, my animals, our family, everybody. So I try to look at the paranormal as something that I respect, but I have to put a boundary out there for the paranormal. Anyways, I think the one thing that I think is important that I wanted to say as well is I think that where we live at any given time, it doesn't matter what state I've been at, and I've lived many places. The paranormal is always around us, because I think that it's not that the paranormal comes and seeks us out. I think it's because we walk in two worlds. I think a lot of humans just don't understand that, because I think we kind of live in a day-to-day life. I mean, like for me, with my new job, I work 40 hours a week, sometimes more. And I sometimes forget that I walk in two worlds. I've met many amazing medicine people who that's their life. They walk in two worlds where they can actually go into the spirit world and figure out what's going on and help people out. And they're able to keep their sanity by being in this reality. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. But I think we have to understand that as humans, that's what we do. We actually do that too. I don't think there's any person out there that's any less able to deal with the paranormal. I think it's just how we handle it kind of says a lot about our understanding of how we've lived our lives. I don't want to live my life in fear, so I will go kind of face whatever scares me and try to deal with it. But I think if we understand that living in two worlds means that the paranormal is always there. It's not like we're here in our house and then all of a sudden the paranormal is out there. It doesn't work that way. And if you've ever dealt with entities, spirits, dark shadows, aliens, reptilians, there's no divide there. They just walk wherever they want. And I think that if you have vortexes and portals, and you have all these different things happening, I think they're going to kind of, they're going to lay up on top of each other. So maybe a portal where it was there first, and then a house is built there. And then all of a sudden you've got a lot of activity happening in a home because it was built right on a portal. So humans may not know that. People may not be looking around going, oh, I wonder if I should, have a house here. But I think that we have to have an understanding of ley lines, and we have to have an understanding of the energy of the location of where we live. So if I actually go into a haunted house, I have to understand that there were a lot of people who lived in this home before me. And that's going to create a lot of paranormal activity. That's just the way it is. And either it's going to be good activity or it's going to be negative, depending on the location, what happened, and what's going on. I think that with the paranormal, I kind of include it all. I include the alien aspect. I include the portals, obviously. I include anything that's spiritual, anything like a spirit or a ghost or whatever, something like that. The dark entities, anything that prowls in the force, I include that there. The fairy realm is different, and I place them in another area. But when it comes to all of this stuff, what I've come to realize is that the witching hour is really, it's 24 hours. There's nothing that says 1 to 2 to 3 hours is where the most amazing stuff happens. Now I'm going to say this, a caveat here is that sunset and sunrise, that twilight hour. Twilight is something that is really phenomenal. And I know this because of some ceremonies that I've done around that time. And there is something to do, especially with the Egyptians, where the day is handed off to the night. It has this romantic connotation to it where the lovers, the moon and the sun, they touch right at that moment at twilight. The twilight is the child of the two of them. So twilight, there is something there during that time, but it's not like it for me, ceremonial wise, it's the best time to do ceremony. I love doing ceremony during those times because it just seems like the frequency of Gaia changes at that moment. But that's frequency and that's energy, and that has to do with intention and pushing out and forward those thoughts and desires that we want, and depending on what kind of ceremony we do, of course. But if you're doing a healing ceremony, if you're doing another ceremony for anything, I think I'm going to be doing one tonight for my daughter, for her home. I'm going to be doing, and I do many different ceremonies for different reasons. For money, you could do it for money if you want. If you want to bring a little extra cash into your life, you could do ceremony for that. If you, I mean, it's endless what you can do ceremony for. What I do with ceremony is I try to figure out the right words that I want to say, and then I put it out there, and I light my candle and I do my thing, and that's a whole other video, of course. But twilight is the perfect time for that, either in the morning or in the evening, whichever way. If you're early bird or you're a night owl, either one works. But outside of that, the paranormal is 24/7. It's like waking up and going to sleep, waking up and going to sleep. It's always there. And it's even in the dream world. It's no matter what we do, it's there. So I think that we've gotten away from dealing with the paranormal because we kind of want to fit it into a schedule, and the paranormal doesn't work that way. So for me, I think one of the best things that I've done to try to figure out how to deal with different things that come, at any time, day or night, is I try to figure out where my mindset is at and where my intention is at, what I want the outcome to be. And I just go from there. I mean, I guess I'm not one of those people that goes into into a haunted house. I ask for communication, I get it, and I scream and I leave. I don't do that, and I don't think that's honoring the dead that way. Um, Seriously, folks, if I were in a house that's supposedly haunted, if I was the spirit haunting it, and I had a lot of these ghostbuster groups coming in, and every time they communicate with me, they start screaming, I probably would throw stuff at them too, because that would just irritate the hell out of me. What I'm saying is that because we know that paranormal happens 24/7, show a little respect. If you're going to go look for something that you want to communicate back with you, just understand that you asked for that. Remember that when you go looking into the paranormal, there's always something looking back at you. So that's important to remember. And I think I actually had something here that I think is really important, is just to remember is that I have here this is the magazine that I write for, the Paranormal Underground. I said here, I constantly say that when we peer into the unknown, there's usually something peering back at us. All it takes is one small invitation or a curious venture into someone else's backyard, and bingo, contact has been made. So it can be anything. When Michael and I have gone to Utah, to the different locations we were at, I had contact with a jinn. And to some people, that's as close as you can get to a demon. But to me, demons are here, jinn are here. And I know probably people don't agree with me, and it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. But the jinn are as old as the archangels. They're different type of being. No, they're not nice. That's a whole other story. But the important thing to understand is that when you go to locations, you're looking for the unknown and the paranormal and all that stuff. You're going to basically, they're going to get a sense of your essence of who you are. They're going to know you're there. So if you get communication back, you can't always ignore it. And if you went and asked for communication, be responsible enough to answer back. And if whoever it is that you've gone out to communicate with, if it's something negative, something dark, just make sure that you let it know you have dominion in this reality. You want nothing more to do with it, and you just move on and you do your own thing. There's always someone to help out if you have a problem with that. So that's kind of what I was saying today. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of different things I wanted to talk about. But I think the one thing that I want people to understand is that it can be fun to go out to these haunted locations and go looking for stuff. But just remember that you don't really have to go looking for it, because the paranormal will find you. And if the paranormal, I think, understands anything in the paranormal understands that you're interested, it'll come knocking at your door. You don't have to go look for it. And remember, you know what? If you go looking for it and things happen, you got to be responsible enough to be able to deal with it. So Michael and I have been dealing with this stuff for a long time. And I don't judge anybody who goes and looks for it and then they don't know what to do when stuff happens, because that's, you know what, I don't think everybody always understands what the paranormal is. So if anybody has any problems, please feel free to contact Michael and I. That's kind of what we're trying to do here with this channel, let you all know that we're here to help. And we've had experiences. I kind of like the stuff that I just talked about, especially with that reptilian in Utah. And I think that I want everybody to know that you're not alone. I mean, even people who you see on TV who seem to be able to deal with the paranormal, especially with the shows, it affects them. It affects their lives. And there's nobody who's not, who's we're not immortal. We're basically humans who are trying to deal with conscious awareness and try to understand who we are, in the cosmic ways of life. So we can figure this out together. And what little information I know, and Michael, and we have enough friends, we can always figure stuff out. So if anybody has any problems, please feel free to contact Michael and I at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. If you have a story you'd like to share, or a question or anything, also feel free to comment down below, or you can email us if you want. We enjoy the emails, and we really enjoy the comments. Something wackadoodle happened with YouTube. We got all of a sudden just a whole bunch of comments that you guys had left, and they disappeared one day. And so Michael and I tried to answer every comment, and then they went into the black abyss of the computer. We have no idea where the comments went. So if you left a comment and you don't see it there, it's because we don't know what happened to it. I answered comments, Michael answered comments. We just didn't know we had them. They disappeared, and then as we were trying to answer all of them, they just kind of disappeared. And I'm not tech savvy, neither is Michael, and we have no clue where they went. But anyways, we do enjoy comments, so please share with us. And I want to do a shout out to Chad and Cheryl, to Paranormal Underground. So if you get a chance, please do subscribe to Paranormal Underground. There's phenomenal writers in here, and I know Cheryl and Chad would greatly appreciate it. So you all take care. Thank you so much for coming in, and we'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.